not to me, it's not. Oh man, man, I can get.
Oh, are you?
Man, woke up and thought it was trying to get angle right. So nobody here.
You're here. I'm here. Are you somebody?
Yeah, I'm somebody.
I'm
You're
somebody.
somebody too.
All right. There you go. All right. So, do you know what you wanted to talk about?
Yes,
It says one.
I'm going to talk about us.
Miss G. Peace. I caught a lie. What's up, Miss G?
Can you hear us?
I see. Hey,
Peace,
beautiful
I see.
person. Beautiful people.
Can you hear us?
Press one. You can hear.
Yeah. Press uno.
Wait, do like the Oh, I hear you. You remember that episode of Sanford and Son when the dad would always act like he couldn't hear, he was deaf, and then his son, what was his Lamont had that big party where everybody was pretending like they were talking and they weren't.
Yeah. He thought he was dead.
He thought he was dead.
Yeah, they were pretending like he was dead.
No, I think they were pretending like he was deaf. They were like,
they were pretending like he was dead.
That's why I was saying we should pretend like we were talking and not really be talking and be like,
yeah, that's all right. We're not doing we just started being silly. We don't really have a subject. I don't want to talk about us.
Us, the movie?
Yeah, not us. Us, the movie, the janky movie.
Okay. Hey, brother Danubian, what's up? Yeah, you thought Us was a janky movie?
I thought the way the father's character was janky. I didn't like that. Yeah, whatever.
I didn't like that.
And
I didn't watch it. Well, spoiler alert, we might talk about it. So it's been out like 12 years. So, newbie, that's cute, newbie.
I don't have my glasses on, so Angela's gonna have to do all the reading. Besides that, I don't know how to read.
So you want to talk about Us? Let's make an agenda. Us and what else? No.
And then Captain Marvel, but just that piece of it.
What piece of it?
Where the little girl had no father.
Oh, that movie.
Like, dude, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, not the new Captain, not the Shazam.
Yeah.
That cute little girl on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, any of you out there seen Us?
Hello, everyone. What's today's topic? Yummy Kumi 2. Yumi Kumi 2. There's no topic today. We're going to talk about a couple of movies, but we're just here talking. We ain't really. So if you have anything you want to add to the agenda, we currently have 2 items on the agenda.
Right. If there's anything that you want to talk about or is on your mind, then just talk about that.
Yeah. And I'll be reading. So, yeah. So did anybody see the movie Us? We just saw it about 3-4 days ago, not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody else see the movie? What did you think about the movie?
August Dreams.
Hey, August Dreams. See, you can see.
Just barely.
Just glowing. Hey, y'all. It's a Universal production, so says I see, referring to Us. Is that a Universal production? Peace, fam, Mr. Pirate Brain.
Oh, peace, Mr. Pirate Brain.
Yeah. Mrs. G, I see just glowing. I see just glowing. I think we've said hi to everybody. If we haven't said hi to everybody, just blame it on our blindness. Don't blame it on the heart. Yeah.
Yes. Us is a Universal production.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have big expectations or any. I guess I do have expectations when it comes to Hollywood movies. I do have expectations when it comes to, any productions in the society. And my expectations are that they're not designed for us. They're not designed for the upliftment of us. Mm-hmm. I do think that on occasion, something might happen where, there might be something positive for us that kind of slips through or happens inadvertently, but I never think that's like the intention of it. So yeah, I never go into something thinking like, this is for us. This is about us. You're so still. I'm moving. I have to be still.
No,
Bella looking at you like, what in the world?
I was thinking about Bella. But I was thinking Jordan Peele was probably trying to catch lightning in a bottle the second time, the same way he did with Get Out. But I mean, the us was good until this is gonna be have some spoilers in it, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah,
oh, look at all that boobage.
I'm looking, but there was the movie like fell apart for me in the third act, but the whole thing with the father was just that was totally unrealistic.
Yeah, I feel like the father's character was problematic in terms of he was just portrayed as someone like one, or I should say like the on the lower level there was this concept that I guess he was supposed to be comic relief and he was supposed to be funny, and it did not work in the film. Like I think that in sometimes you can have comic relief that works. If you look at that first movie, the guy who worked for the at the airport the TSA, yeah, I think he was a TSA agent. He's a comedian. His character was comedic and it fit, like his stuff for the most part fit, but the dad's character was not funny to me, and I had a difficult time respecting and appreciating him. Like I could not understand what his wife saw in him, and I kind of felt like everybody is not going to be that I'm gonna fight, I'm running I'm gonna do bad. Everybody is not a warrior, and I don't feel like every man has to be a warrior, but I feel like I couldn't it was never clear to me what her attraction was to him,
right,
because he was not portrayed as like a strong protective man,
right,
but then his humor was not really funny. It was just kind of like you just never got any appreciation of what was going on. What you read?
Oh, thank you. No,
she said she likes the live stream.
But one of the things I found extremely problematic and unrealistic about the father's character was, and I already said this to you, of course, but I don't care how much of a wimp punk a man is. If his wife and especially his children are being threatened, he's going to do something. He's not going to just have somebody carrying him off, and he's crying and whimpering
and not putting up any fight,
not putting up any resistance whatsoever. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was kind of like I didn't really understand. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. Now I've never been in a situation where I've been attacked, but and I feel like I've
yeah, I mean,
where I've been in attack with a man there, like where
right. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, he was useless.
Right, unsunken one.
Hey, unsunken one.
See unsunken one in a minute.
Oh, Ayapo hasn't seen you in a minute. I haven't seen anybody really quiet.
But yeah, that's
relax yourself.
That's ridiculous. That they wrote the character like that. He had no redeeming value in my opinion in the movie. And then I liked the twist at the end. I won't say what it is. I liked the twist at the end, but that still, in my opinion, was like too little, too late, because the father like took you out of the story, because it was he was just so problematic.
Yeah. So, and then what I do think is interesting, I didn't necessarily think that it exactly fell apart in the third act. I thought that it was weak at points, but I didn't think it was like the worst movie that I had seen. It was not as horrible as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a horror film. So I was a little like, I don't want to, but it wasn't as horrible as I thought it was. But what I do think is interesting is that we've watched a few episodes of the Twilight Zone. I don't know if anybody has seen this new Twilight Zone that's produced by Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
I don't know if he's written a lot of them or if he's in. I don't know how involved he is with them. But you can definitely see in that series where there's a lot of, falling apart in the third act. I saw 3 episodes, Unsunken One. I'm guessing you're talking about the Twilight Zone.
Unsunken One. What did you think about it?
That's what I was just gonna ask. I was gonna ask, what did you think about it? Of that, yeah. And so I was kind of curious when we were watching the Twilight Zone. I'm like, now I know it seemed like from the movie Get Out, like he can put a story together of like a couple hours. And I've seen a couple what happened to movies entertaining people. It shouldn't feel like something being pushed on me when I watch movies. I want to have fun and be entertained.
Right.
Oh, and that's definitely the conversation that you've had about that Twilight Zone, that it feels like there's like an agenda and like, this is the moral of the story, children. This is what this is about. And it's just kind of like, it doesn't work. It's not seamless. It's not.
Right.
It's just kind of like annoying and offensive. It's not fun. Most movies are another form of indoctrination. Mm-hmm. Most movies, shoot, I feel like aren't all movies a form of indoctrination?
Indoctrination.
What is? It's not. That's not the word.
Indoctrination.
Indoctrination. Aren't all movies trying to indoctrinate you into something? Aren't all movies trying to I feel like this whole system of entertainment, news, whatever, has an agenda of propaganda. Like it's propagandizing us. The original Twilight Zone had agendas also.
Right, but
they cater to the lowest common denominator. They make films as though the audience has no intellect.
Right. And see, that's the thing is that, like the original Twilight Zone, a lot of them were morality plays, which is fine, but it wasn't so in your face, and that's my problem with the present Jordan Peele show. I refuse to call it Twilight Zone. It's the present Jordan Peele show. I'm like, dude, that's not the Twilight Zone. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see my well, you can't see the videos in the background. I have all the Twilight Zones.
Yeah.
From all the each incarnation of it. There's been 3 so far. Well, now there's 4. And because it was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
And I started watching that mess. I'm like, what the heck am I looking at?
Yeah, and I'm not a Twilight Zone fan. I definitely haven't seen every episode at all. Excuse me, I've seen more episodes since we've been together than before. But I don't think that I've ever seen an episode of the Twilight Zone before this latest incarnation where it just seemed like it was bad. I've seen some that were better than others, but it's like on some of these episodes of the Twilight Zone, it's like by the time, like at the beginning, it's kind of like, okay. And then like the one episode with the mother taking her, and this is not even a funny subject, with the mother taking her son to college, and this cop was like stalking them, and she could like go back in time, but no matter where she went back in time, every time, no matter how she changed what she did, the cop always showed up. It was really an interesting concept. Conceptually, it was like, but the execution, it just fell apart. And then like by the end, they were all like, we have our cell phones and we're holding them up, cops. And so you can't shoot this boy.
Right.
And it's kind of like, we have seen a million people get shot on cell phone video. Like, I don't understand. They flop at the end. It's like good sex with no orgasm.
Thank you. Perfect.
This,
who said that?
I don't know. Somebody might have deleted it.
No, it's in right.
Oh no, just flowing.
Just
flowing from the good orgasm.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I get it. I haven't seen the new Twilight Zones,
but it's a hot mess.
Yeah, but I like seeing, some like in the other Twilight Zones, it's like basically all white people. I like seeing black and brown people. I do, and I guess I'm just like.
But here's the thing: you have an episode like that episode of Black Mirror when the young lady went in that museum. See, and it didn't feel like it was all in your face, but that was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's not called the Colored Museum, but it's something like that. That was a good episode. Then it had like a twist at the end, and it
still made its point.
It still made its point. I can't say like the same thing. Like I have watched all of the seasons of Black Mirror. It's only 3 or 4, and some of them are short seasons of just like 6 episodes or something. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that I've seen a bad episode of Black Mirror. I've seen some that I like more than others. But Good evening, all New Deep. What's up? What up? I like the Twilight Zone, the movie. I've never even seen the Twilight Zone, the
Yeah.
movie.
Well, we watched that
Um,
tonight, maybe. Well, no, you
um,
don't want to watch that tonight.
yeah, yeah. I haven't seen the Black Mirror either. They're just glowing. Oh, narrated by Forrest Whitaker.
Hey,
I see
Portia
hasn't
Johnson.
seen. I don't see Portia Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Right there.
Oh, hey, Portia Johnson. Is that your Is that somebody you know?
Could be.
Oh, okay. Hey. Maybe, maybe not. So anyway, that was us. I mean, it was okay. Um, I mean, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't. I mean, that
Yeah.
movie we saw last night, I might have even liked it better. And the movie we saw last
Shazam.
night was like a children's movie to me.
Yeah,
But I like
Shazam.
children's, well, teen movies, children movies. But yeah, Shazam. I thought that one was pretty well put together. I was here for it. I love watching you together. Ha ha. um, yeah. So,
So there was Shazam, but there was also Captain Marvel, which Shazam is Captain Marvel, but the woman Captain Marvel is their step brother.
hey,
Peace.
stepbrother, peace. How about some controversy about real life? Yeah. What's the controversy
All
about
of,
real life?
right, all of
Said you rocking that beard,
oh,
just glowing.
but
I like movies though.
yeah, all
I do too.
all this stuff is actually real life as we talk about it because all of it pertains to the system that we're in.
Yeah. And somebody said earlier, I'm sorry, I forgot who it was sort of that concept of when you have a consciousness of what you're watching, you can kind of see it for what it is, and perhaps be entertained as well, and kind of separate the two. And I don't know, I sometimes I feel like I do try to watch things with as much consciousness as I can, but sometimes I do feel concerned that like maybe some stuff is just like slipping through undetected, and I'm like
Mm-hmm.
absorbing or maintaining more of the BS that I've already absorbed. So, I do kind of, like I think that it is an interesting concept, and I feel like there's definitely something like when I'm watching a Hollywood, movie, you know what it is. I'm not thinking it's anything like deeply progressive. So, hey, good people, um, catching wisdom, catching wisdom, here, chatting wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same. Hey, Nikki, what's up?
But
I'm
that,
like the worst moderator. I mean, whatever this is,
well,
comment reader.
but
I'm
that's
not the worst, but I'm
but
not the
that's
best.
that's like in excuse me, we just watched Captain Marvel, and just like I said about us, there's different things that just take me out of the movie, and the fact that you have this black woman and her daughter, and there was literally no mention whatsoever of a father, no pictures of the father. You saw pictures of this white woman, all this stuff. You didn't see any pictures of any father, no mention of any father, anything. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
that's
it was
that's striking
odd.
to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kept like the whole like at the end, I was like, well, I guess she's like an immaculate conception. But the whole movie, I thought that it was going to come up. Like I was like, in the child, the mother, if I remember correctly, was like browner, and then the child was like she could be biracial, or like the dad was light skinned. When the grandparents showed up, I thought that they were going to be white, and they were going to it was but I like we never saw the grandparents, but I got the impression they were black, maybe from their voice. I can't even remember what. But it was weird. To me, it was weird. And especially like when that white woman came and she's like, yeah, I know who you are. Here's a picture of us here. Here's a picture of us here. She had like 8 million
Right?
pictures.
I'm like, who's
And it
your
was
daddy?
like, where's your daddy? Where's your
Yeah,
daddy?
who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? Who's your
That was very off-putting.
daddy? Yeah. Sometimes you have to be careful because movies can sneak things into your unconscious mind. Right. I think
That's the
movies,
point.
news, television, yeah, that's the point. That's the agenda.
Because nobody's thinking outwardly. There's this mother and her daughter, and there's just no father in the picture, and
Right.
that just like sinks in here, no father around. You
Yeah.
know, no black father around,
Yeah.
and that's just a mess.
Someone said, love the first two seasons of Black Mirror. All the other seasons were weak. And the current season opener with the gay concentration toward melanated people
Yeah, I
to
didn't
be a
like that
virtual
crap either.
reality, maybe put it in the. We got a plus sign over the last part of your
Yeah, that's
comment.
it. Yeah, that's just something on the screen when someone
When it
else makes a
moves up,
comment,
right.
it'll move up.
I understood that, but
But
I was only letting you know that I wasn't able to read the entire comment, but I got the gist. But I've enjoyed Black Mirror,
no,
but
I've liked every season, but I didn't like that episode. I told you I didn't like that. I didn't like that mess. And I
yeah,
saw through that like glass.
yeah.
You know.
Put it in the trash. Trash, LOL.
Right.
Trash. Throw it away.
Right.
I'm inadvertently wearing red today, even though I have on pink, and earlier I had
Right.
on a gray jacket.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna talk about putting on something white.
Right. Well, when we took the first thumbnail, I'm like, wait a second, you have all blue, I have all red.
Right.
We might as well just go with the theme. So I was trying to find something white.
Right, but we'll celebrate the 4th of July.
I don't
Anyway.
celebrate any holiday.
Well, that's true too.
So I don't know. The agenda is working on melanated people, says says I see. They love pulling these stunts on us. Yeah.
Right.
So I think, I do think that it's good. I know in my experience, the more that I'm able to like talk about stuff and kind of um like I feel like community is important, conversation is important, because there may be something that gets by me that I don't notice that you may point out, and I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that, or so I feel like it is important for us to talk, deconstruct, analyze, try to like increase our community consciousness. They don't realize that by shoving this gay agenda down our throats, they're making us homophobic when we weren't. Yeah, I don't think I'm homophobic, and I don't think I'm inclined to. I have a different whole perspective on the. What do you think about the transgender high school boys running track as women? I hadn't heard about it, but I know that there's this African person. I didn't know it was a. I was kind of confused because by the time I heard the story, they were saying that the testosterone levels were really, really high. So I'm like, is it a man who was trained? Like, I was confused by the whole thing, but I think they were just saying that she was born a woman, but she has high testosterone levels. But I hadn't heard about that other. She's a lesbian. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. That's the point, confusion. Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe that's the point. I think that the way that I process the world is probably like a little more, like a little less black, white, male, female. Like I feel like a lot of things are on a continuum. And so, like, I think of sexuality on a continuum. I even think of gender on a continuum. Definitely, I don't think of race as something that's like either black or white. I feel like there's a continuum, especially, I don't know how much I believe in these DNA tests, but especially when you start seeing DNA tests, because then I'm kind of like, so if this person is 88% African, West African, and this person is 70% West African, and that person is 60% West African, ever, and this person is 40, like at what point do you draw the line? Like how do you determine who's like it just seems like it's definitely on a continuum to me. Right. Black women tend to have higher T levels in general versus white women, scientifically speaking.
Well, my whole thing is just like we were discussing this morning about agendas that are being pushed. When I'm seeing like LGBTQ and swirling and all that, when I'm constantly seeing that, then I automatically side eye it because I'm like, okay, you're trying to push this a little bit too hard. There's something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are those who would argue, well, it's not on there that much. No, to me it is, because you can't look at anything without seeing somebody, especially gay. You can't look at anything without seeing somebody gay. You can't watch Empire, which I never watched one episode. So I couldn't care.
Say, don't worry, you're not missing anything.
Exactly. And I'm like, brother. Then there's some stuff that I'll start watching, and then I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Then you see two men kissing. I'm like, oh man, come on, for real?
Yeah.
Click, click, click. Well,
Yeah.
nobody does that anymore. That's from the old days. You
When you
had to
say
get
you
up and
turn your TV
right.
off, you press it
So
off.
yeah, I'm old.
You probably got a Frigidaire. You got a Frigidaire in there. That's what my granny had, a
Mm-hmm.
Frigidaire.
One of those ice boxes.
Yeah, she called it wasn't. She was more modern than an ice box. She had a Frigidaire. So I think that was one of the first brands of refrigerators. So and see the stuff that I side eye is like the more like white, rich white men, like the mainstream stuff. Like everybody should be Christians, everybody should eat meat, everybody should whatever. It's like if they're like everybody does it and everybody is doing it and this is the mainstream. Like even if I go to the gas station and I see peanuts everywhere I look, I see peanuts. Like now, those pomegranates that pomegranate stuff has gotten really, really popular. That makes me kind of feel like kind of hesitant about it. Only 2% of the population, but they are everywhere in the media because they're highly weird.
Look at what Step Brother just said.
Congratulations, Ayapo Yapo, joining the radical sister. Our enemies decided to jam your output and buffer your stream. You're making them uncomfortable. Thumbs up.
That's what I'm talking about. I did two new videos. I already complained to you about, but I did two new videos. Those two videos I just did about us separating are both basically in limbo. I'm not seeing any more people watching it. I'm not seeing any comments coming in. Nothing. They just froze there, and that's the whole thing. They don't want us to leave. They can say go back to Africa all they like. They know that they need us here. And anytime that you start talking about leaving, it's like talking about trying to get out of an abusive relationship. You know,
A speed queen washing machine.
speed queen.
I never even heard of a speed
Yeah, I
queen
remember
washing
that.
machine. I had an
Washboard.
Oh, I heard of a washboard, but I had an auntie, and that when I got grown, she's a great aunt. She was my grandmother's sister, and when I got grown, I found out that she and her husband had an agreement. They had an understanding, and I learned that when washing machines came out, that she was one of the first women to have a washing machine in her community and in that whole city because her husband made sure that she got the washing machine first, and she wasn't expecting it. She wasn't looking for it. It came to the door, but he also was known to be involved with other women. But whatever that, like her house was always the top of the tip. And so that was their agreement. And this was my auntie who would always tell me that your hair is your crowning glory. And she would always send me Texas lettuce money, like crisp $1 bills, and tell me never cut your hair. It's your crowning glory. Never cut your hair. It's your crowning glory.
Mm-hmm.
I just tried to drop a red pill, but the link was removed.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of red pills, I think about in terms of separation, in terms of the Get Out. I think about that movie a lot. What was the name of that movie with the red pill, blue pill?
The Matrix.
Yeah, I think about that a lot in terms of like disconnecting from things. Like there's this scene, I don't know if anybody remembers it, but where the person is like in the amniotic fluid or whatever, and he pulled, I don't know who the character is.
I was going to say Neo, but Lawrence Fishburne was Neo. Um,
It was the white guy, right? One of the
oh no,
white
no, Lawrence Fishburne was Morpheus. It was Neo.
Oh, and he's like he's in his physical body, and he pulls. He's like got these things on his spine attaching him to the matrix, and he pulls them out. Pop, 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 pop. And I think about that, the fact that sometimes we think that we can pull one thing out or separate it in one way, and then we're separated from the system and we're free.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not exactly how the system works.
Right.
We were talking today.
Step by step.
It's step by step. You got to pull all of the stuff out. And then sometimes when you pull out, you might pull out one and then two more may attach to you. Or you may pull out one, like, hey, I've made some advancements here. And you might make some regression in other ways because, we're constantly being encouraged and drawn back into the system.
Tell them about that stat that you looked at for that immigration stat.
Oh.
I just found that interesting.
Well, I have this whole. I'm trying to figure out this whole the whole immigration conversation. I feel a way about it. Like in the
Real quick, I'm gonna run to the restroom and get some rest. So I'll be right back.
Yeah. And the way I feel about it is not that I don't think they paid that sister yet, Mr. Pyrovon. I had the pleasure to have known the great great grandmother, and she had that old washer. I'm 45. Wow. There's a grieving process after leaving our comfort zone. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. Like, I think that in the same way that a lot of us talk about the fact that we have post traumatic slave syndrome, or even if you don't use that language, the idea that the trauma that we've experienced, even if we just look at one individual's life, there's so much trauma that we experience in this country as Black folks. And then there's the community trauma that we experience, just in our lifetimes, but then there's generational trauma that we've experienced and that we carry with us. And so we're not, when, like, us having time and space and support and healing from that trauma, we don't necessarily have that. So we're like in distress. We're like really like stressed out and in distress. And, just from like all of the like stress and drama and stuff that's going on, people getting raped, people getting stolen, people disappearing, people getting beat, people getting shot in the street, people getting lynched, people having their businesses burned, people being attached, attacked, people disappearing, communities burning down, being enslaved, having your labor stolen, knowing that you're paying more for your mortgage, knowing you buy a house and the people burn you down, they burning crosses on you, you driving down the street and the cops are chasing you, or not chasing you but following you. It's just like we're under a lot of stress and we don't really get to heal from that. And then I was just thinking about in terms of separation, like if you're in an unhealthy relationship, even if you need to get out of that relationship, someone
Why
was
you
just
look at me when you said that?
even when you in an unhealthy relationship and you need to get out of that relationship, and somebody may be like, the best thing you can do is get out of that relationship because that relationship is not good for you, but there's still a pain and a trauma from any relationship ending, whether it's a good relationship, a bad relationship, a healthy relationship, an abusive relationship, a loving relationship. And like our relationship with this country, it's abusive. And I think, I would definitely advance the argument that we need to separate. We were brought here involuntarily. We were brought into some mess and bullshit and confusion. And this society continues to be mess and bullshit and confusion. And we just need to, like, it's like there's nothing that, like, it's just like it's not for us. I'm a total separatist. But how, when you
Mm-hmm.
the trauma of separating can be a challenge. So even if like, hey, I know I need to eat better, I need to eat a better quality of food, there's still an emotional attachment to the foods that you've grown up with. Like it's a holiday today. If you celebrate the holiday, if you don't celebrate the holiday, it may bring up memories. Like when I was a kid and we would eat ribs, and my auntie would make homemade ice cream. And there are certain things that you crave. There are certain things that you emotionally attach to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, the food, the church, the like a lot of things we're just like attached to. My relationship ended 9 years ago and I still feel the pain, definitely. And so if you look at us, like we've had, this 300-year relationship with this country, how do we just like break away in 2 days? And some of us may be further along the path than other people. Some of like I can totally understand when people are like, I'm not going anywhere. My blood, sweat, and tears is invested in here. And I understand that and I feel that. But at the same time, I'm like, it's some situations where you need to cut your losses.
Right.
Where I
Exactly.
need to cut my losses. Like it's just not healthy. It's not for me. I'm going to let it go. You have that blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to have my freedom and my sanity. Or I'm seeking freedom and sanity. And I know that I'm not getting freedom and sanity here.
Right. That's exactly it.
So, I gotta do something else. I'm out here first chance I get. I'm out of here first chance I get. Yeah.
And as I'm constantly saying on my videos, first place to get out is in here, um, because it's not a simple thing to just physically leave, but anybody can start to free their mind. And as you free your mind, then that at least gives you that much separation and that much more clarity. You know, um, if you if you're if you're on the other side of the world from somebody and you're still thinking about them day and night, then you may as well still be with them. But you could be sitting right beside somebody and not thinking about them at all. And in that case, you're actually more free of them than the person that's a thousand miles from somebody, and their mind is always on them. So it's just getting your mind, getting your mind free and getting your mind clear. And the more clear it is, the more clarity you get, and the more that you see, because like we're constantly bombarded by, by like little subtle, little subtle innuendos, little subtleties that nobody would think anything of unless they're awake to see it.
Hmm. Like what, for example?
Like that whole thing on the movie Captain Marvel. You have people watching that and they're looking at this little girl and her mother, and there's no father there. Don't think anything of it. But if you're in any way conscious, you're gonna be like, where's the father? Why is there no pictures of him? Why is there no mention of him? Why is it just and so you actually start to notice, you start to notice these things. Or when we were watching the farm, and it was like everybody dark skinned on the show, all the dark skinned men were some kind of troublemaker. Even the father, was contracting to kill somebody. And then all these white people were these white saviors, and the prosecuting attorney was this light skinned woman, who was trying to get it's a mess.
Yeah, I moved to Argentina 88 to 94, and it took only 3 months. But I'm 57 now, and so moving is harder. Yeah, my mom is moving, and she's 70, and my dad was talking to my brother. Like my brother is not my mother's birth child, and my brother is like young, like 15 years younger than me. And my brother told me that, he's like, yeah, dad was like, isn't she too old to move? Like she's 70 years old. Isn't she too old to move? And when I told my mother, she like, if I don't move now, I mean, no, you're not too old to move. If you can move, then you can move. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, ma. So, I don't know. I guess that just gave me two perspectives on it because they were both thinking about it. Like in Black Panther, the white guy was the savior. They were thinking about it two different ways. I'm sorry, about in terms of moving. Like, oh, you're too old to move at 70, and she's like, if I can move, I'm old. And there's plenty of people I know who are 70, 75, 80, and they just up and go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Anything you can do to get out of here, because as black people, frankly, we just want to live in peace. We're just trying to live in peace,
hmm
and aren't allowed to.
is she moving by herself? Her husband, it's the two of them moving at this moment. So, I'm consciously, I'm very conscious of wanting her to be connected, with community there, and kind of spending time trying to facilitate that the best way that I know how, virtually and in person, and But my mother is an Aries, and so Aries can be very head first and headstrong, and can get something in their head and really be driven by what's in their head. And so once she decided that hey, love like the sun, peace. For somebody who can't see, you see, it's easier to move as a couple. Um, in practical terms, she's moving as a couple, but in pragmatically and realistically, um, her husband has a lot going on, with his health. And so, one way that I process it is that she's kind of moving. It is two of them, but a lot of responsibility is on her. But I feel like a lot of responsibility is on her where she is now, and I think that she'll have less stress in a different environment. That's her theory too. But I'm not exactly sure. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get on the nutrition lifestyle, get rid of the sad diet. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved to Argentina, I was married to my ex. Was an Aries, LOL. Yeah. You did it in 3 months. Your mom sounds adventurous, which is really interesting because last year in February when I started live streaming, she was in South Africa. Before her going to, like, I've been all over the world. When I was a child, I know that my mother went to Cuba and my mother went to Morocco. And then when she was 60, she went on a cruise. I don't think of my mother, I never thought of my mother as someone who would pick up and move to another country. I didn't really see it coming. She came back from South Africa. She like, I want to get out of this country. I want to go. And I was kind of freaked out because I'm like, Africa, I'm all for it on some level, but I felt like very stressed out because I had just moved from Mississippi back to Detroit because I wanted to be closer. That was a big part of it. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, a $2,000 plane ticket and however many hours away is a long way. Like if the skit hit the fan, I feel like I could drive certain places, but if the skit hit the fan, I'm like, am I going to swim to Africa? I mean, how am I going? It just made me like very stressed out. So we kind of talked about it a little bit, but she did the research and she chose the place that she wanted to move. And at this moment, although one person that she's met there now is like, I'm going to Africa for a couple of months, and they're the same age, and she's like, I may move, I may stay here, I don't know. So we'll see. And maybe I'll be more mobile or feel like I'll be more mobile then. Argentina, I was told that the society is not as friendly toward melanated people. But hell, I live in the most racist society on earth already. LOL, says the unsunken one.
Right.
I have a home on every continent, says love like the sun. Yeah, yeah. That's something that makes me kind of. I was just talking up the
No,
floor.
go ahead.
That's something that makes me kind of sad. Sometimes I wish that there was like some place where I could go, and there probably are places that I can go, and I just don't know. But so far, all of my travels, and maybe it has to do with my consciousness, because one of the people, when I traveled to Costa Rica last year, one of the people said, I feel, and she was an older black woman, long locks down to here, deeply melanated. She said, I feel like traveling as a black woman, you always have an advantage. She said people always treat her like a queen everywhere she goes. And that, people feel like because of the way that black Americans have been treated, that they treat her better. That's been her experience. I feel like everywhere that I've gone in the world, like the blacker the people are, the lower they are on the totem pole. And it makes
Mm-hmm.
me very sad. But maybe I need to adjust my attitude so that I can start having a different experience. But I just want to go someplace, like that Nina Simone song. I wish I knew what it felt like to be free.
Right.
Like I just want to go and like be free and like just like be free. You
And it's
know,
interesting. It's interesting to note that, um, and like, this is just stuff we've already talked about. But it's interesting to note that
I love that song.
black people literally, black people in the United States especially,
Hey Jay Bart.
literally, pe- don't know what it feels like not to live under oppression. No matter what your age is, you literally do not know what it is not to be under oppression. And to that, to that end, say like tomorrow some miracle happened and we were just like no longer oppressed, we wouldn't know what to do, wouldn't know how to behave because we have no point of reference.
Yeah.
Well, I say we wouldn't know how to behave, I mean, excuse me, great,
That's
me with
okay.
that.
That's
When I say we wouldn't know how to behave, it'd be like and I'm always referencing movies, but it'd be like in the movie Shawshank Redemption when Morgan Freeman's character finally got out of prison and he's working in this grocery store and he's asking the guy to go to the restroom. You know,
mm-hmm.
he doesn't know how to not ask permission for everything
Mm-hmm.
that for everything. It has to
Mm-hmm.
get acclimated to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
And
that's how we would be. Is
did you just wipe the top from where I was drinking?
no,
Oh. Did he wipe the top? I think that open air prison. Don't start YouTube with this buffering. Don't start YouTube with this buffering stuff. But I do think that there's this concept that I have or that I've heard of like where some of us when we got our freedom, that fake freedom with the Emancipation Proclamation, that some of us was
Give me
like
my free.
give I don't want to leave. Like we didn't really know where to go or didn't really know what to do and didn't really know, and I guess that has to do with like different personalities too, because there's some people who, you ain't got to tell me.
All right.
It's fine. It's time to go. You ain't got to tell me. I'm already out the
Well,
door. I know.
some of them are suffering from draperophobia real bad. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
Hmm.
Draperophobia?
Well, right. Some of us was suffering from draperophobia, where we was like, I'm scared to be draped in this white bullshit.
Right.
What is that? How you say it? Draperophobia is like
Draperophobia.
it's like somebody who
Keeps
doesn't
trying to
like
run
to be
away.
enslaved.
Yeah, it keeps trying to run away. The nut.
They gave us freedom, but no money to survive. I'm not buffering at all. Yeah, give us free. But see, yeah, and I watched this documentary. This was a couple years ago, of this woman who was born in like 1949, 1946, and she said she was born enslaved. She said that they lived in it was in Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi. It might have been Alabama, but she said drapetomania. Oh,
Drapetomania. Thank you.
drapetomania.
Draperophobia.
Oh,
I got
drapetomania.
draperophobia of drapetomania.
Draperophobia were the people who were like, I don't want to go. I guess
Right.
drapetomania were the people who were like, give me free. I want to go. She was born enslaved. She said that they lived in this like in the a farm. I mean, not in a farm. I don't know why you're so immature. That is not funny at all. No, we can give you your freedom. If so, they can take it away. Right. Anything that somebody gives you
Right.
can be taken away.
Go ahead.
But she was born. She said that they were born. They lived in like this barn, but it wasn't insulated or anything. That they would like lay under hay to be warm. It was like her father, and I think there were like some siblings. That a lot of times they didn't get food. If they did get food from the monsters, the owners or whatever, it would be like slops, just kind of like all put together. Some of them had been sitting for days, unrefrigerated, would be spoiled or whatever. She said that sometimes her family would like dig in the dirt for like grubs and worms and eat them and share them among them. And that her mother once a month would, or once a month, or I think it was once a month, they would take her to the big house. And then when she got old enough, and I think old enough was like 7, 8, 9, 10. They would take her too, and they would be raped in the house together. I guess her mother had been getting raped monthly, and then the father got this idea to, or executed this idea to escape, and like came across these people, and these people were like, "Hey, why are you trying? Where are you trying to go?" And he's like, "I'm trying to get to the army because if I get to the army, I can support my family." And they hold my family captive, and he was like telling them the story, but these people were part of the community and they ended up taking him back, but eventually they were free. But what it made, and so, and she still had like a lot of like weird, it was like it was, I mean, but this was like in, she's my mother was born in 49, so she's like my mother's age, and she was, I don't remember the name of the video or whatever, but it made me kind of feel like, especially when I was down south, that it's like these big stretches of land and anything could be going on them. And like when we talk about people being sharecroppers, did somebody come and like let all of the sharecroppers free? Is anybody regulating what's going on these farms and on these stretches of land and in these communities? We heard a story a couple years ago about a young man who was developmentally different, and that these people had been holding him captive in a restaurant and forcing him to work for free. I just think that like even though that was the first time I heard that type of story, it didn't surprise me. And I think that there's probably like a lot more of that going on. Um, the oppression was a long time ago. My grandmother couldn't vote until she was 30. And I think, yeah, so I just feel like, our freedom, um,
See, but you know the interesting conversation is the one that we've had when you're operating within a system like this, you can't really get a solid bead on anything because everything that you do is based on this system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as we were discussing, when our people do anything, even when even when our people do things that we consider proactive,
Yes.
if you we're not we can never as black people in the United States, we can never be proactive about anything. The reason is that everything that we do, everything. I'm ashy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some stay black in a minute. But I just don't, I was looking at myself on the screen. Anyway,
Does anybody say stay black? I've never heard that before for
wait,
lotion.
let me finish
You
this
got
up.
some right there.
Yeah, let me finish this up. But anything that we do is a you get up there. Anything that we do is a reaction to what someone else is doing to us or what is happening with us. You know, to that degree within this system, there's no way for us to be proactive because everything is a reaction to what's happening to us. So, within the confines of this system, there's no way to know how we would actually naturally behave about anything. About anything.
Mm-hmm. Stay black is lotion. I never heard that before. I didn't know
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
was like common in Ohio or like another generation.
There's none
Or
right here.
can a bruh get some of that stay black?
That's it.
There ain't none in there.
I know
Why
I
you
gotta
got
get
that
some
sitting there?
more.
That's
I
garbage.
know I gotta go get some. I'll be back with Stay Black. It's
Yeah.
not a brand or anything. She said she had never heard of it. We used to call lotion Stay Black all the time.
And that would be a good that's a good name for a brand of lotion, I guess. Or for a brand of anything. Stay black. That could be stay black schools. Never heard of that. Stay black. Yeah. You really have to move to the motherland before you can free yourself. I'm ashy. It's a warped system. We've been twisted psychologically. Yeah. We're puppets, says just glowing. He's out to stay black. I know he about to turn white. You better get that stay black or you go turn white. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, people were still enslaved, like literally, like the old fashioned way, like on plantations and stuff like that. And I think theoretically, people still are enslaved. And then they immediately started criminalizing us with, oh, you're loitering, you're standing here, you don't have a job, so we're going to put you in jail, especially if it's the season when the corporations needed workers. Then everybody was, all of the black people was getting arrested for everything, especially, black men was just up and disappearing, being criminalized left and right so that they could be enslaved through the prison industrial complex, sell white women's tears. Yeah. Stay black, white women's tears can't be in groups bigger than two or three. Yeah, that's still an issue, you know. If they see us together, it makes them feel uncomfortable, a lot of them, because they probably figure we planning something. We need to be planning something. But most of the time, we're not really planning anything. No, they don't like to see us in groups of more than two or three. What are some of the ways that you feel that you've been able to separate from this system or separate, literally like having homes in every continent or figuratively, emotionally, spiritually? Everyone in the room is on the phone with the patent office trying to get the trademark for the name Stay Black, Stay in My House. LOL. Yeah. Um, Spiritually, like, do you feel like you have any separation? Do you feel like you have any freedom? Do you feel like you have any autonomy from the system? Exactly. We need to be planning.
The black is back.
Mm. What is that, oil?
Huh? That's whatever you say. I
Uh,
wouldn't got yours
where'd you get that from?
out of the bag.
The bag? Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Um,
It was the same to me,
I'm
almost the
not
same.
celebrating any of their holidays.
Mm-mm.
Does that like, because I know that different people, like for example, I know like when women cut their hair, sometimes they feel sad when they, cut their hair. Sometimes they feel liberated. In not celebrating holidays, do you feel like, oh, a twinge of like sadness? Do you feel like it makes it more difficult? When holidays, do you feel like everybody's partying except for me? Do you feel like, hey, I don't really care? I don't really care. Like Christmas time, it don't really mean nothing to me. I can say Merry Christmas. I don't care. It means absolutely nothing to me. Now you smell like fruit and blossoms.
You can smell this?
No, you feel free. Yeah, you feel free. Yeah. And I think, I guess it just depends. Like some stuff, I think you said on one of your videos the other day that, and I thought, I don't know if some of y'all may remember that, like for his birthday, I did him a cheese platter, even though I wasn't like a big dairy person, because he was like a big cheese person.
Right.
And so when we watched that movie, oh, you remember the name of the movie? What the Health. We watched What the Health, and he was like, "I'm not going to eat dairy. I'm going to stop eating, dairy. I'm going to become vegan." And I was kind of like, "Okay."
Then I stopped eating.
I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes something that you think, we were just talking about this today, something that you think is going to be hard is not hard, and something that you think is going to be easy might be more of a challenge.
Right.
When I told my daughter about Christmas, I was released from the madness. Yeah, today, said Jay Bart. Today, I've been watching Black people shares, and I feel better. Haven't had time to be sad, said Mr. Pirate Brain. When I'm in my garden amongst my fruits and vegetables, I feel free, detached from the world, says I see, just glowing. Whenever I get a Black client to do my best, I do my best work, LOL. I want I want to do them for free, says just glowing. Ill said ill just glowing, said Denobian. African Black soap is a full body soap shampoo. Yeah.
Peace, Cap.
Hey Cap,
Just came in, right?
you said that twice.
Oh, I know.
I was reading.
Probably know I was talking about you.
Uh, my garden frees me too. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I grounded myself, but that's kind of soon.
Where do you ground yourself at?
I have to find like a really good field.
What's a good field?
Just a nice field.
My
Like
mother,
I said, it used to be like we go out camping, and that's when I would ground myself then. But
because my mother was asking about, because she's like really on this whole grounding thing right now. And so she was asking about it, and I'm like, well, he's like always talking about like raccoon pee and stuff. So I don't even know where he
yeah,
would.
I don't mess with raccoons.
But I mean, I'm not talking about raccoons. And I'm saying, what field do you feel doesn't have any raccoon pee in it?
No,
I mean, I'm like,
no, I'm talking about eating stuff. Like when you went and ate that, we were taking a walk, right? And she saw some red clover, and she went and ate it because she left it with brother.
I miss my mom. Last year, this time we were walking. We were eating red clover and mulberries. You can ground in the backyard if your yard is concrete, wet it first, and then go barefoot. Wet concrete? I've never heard of that.
Right, because I've always grounded myself like on the ground, yeah, in the earth.
But I mean, I appreciate the suggestion because you never know what's going to serve somebody.
Right,
my mother's friend was saying that he had a hole dug in his backyard, and he would go into it, and it was big enough for a chair and for him to sit. But now he doesn't have a backyard of that size, and so he has a big flower pot full of dirt, and he puts his feet in that. So my mother has started doing that. And I would think, I hug trees. I would think that it would have to be like in the, but I feel like try everything because you never know what might work.
And always keep
just
in
blowing.
mind.
I hug trees. My child gets so embarrassed. Yeah, and they say if you put your back up against the tree, like just sit with your back up against it, that it's very energizing.
Plus, my wife calls counts on you because you just sit. But
hey, Black Fist. Black first. Hey, Black first.
Black Fist.
Hey,
Black first. It's black first. I apologize. You
The
got it
first
right.
black fist.
But let me say this: anytime that you're looking up in the sky, especially at night, and you're looking at the stars, even the furthest star, you're thinking about the sun, the moon, stars that's out in the universe is big, like just a pin, like a pin dot on a pin dot, and so on. You go out and you ground yourself and meditate and start thinking about the universe, and you'll realize you are every bit as much part of this overall huge universe as that distant star is, that distant sun. You're literally every bit as part of it as that is, and it is every bit as part of it as you are. I mean,
Mm,
it's an interesting concept to think about.
black fist. So Mr. Pirate Brain says, I'm diabetic and so I'm
Right.
afraid to put my bare feet in the ground. I'm not familiar with the connection
Mm.
between diabetes and
Well,
bare feet.
yeah, you can if they're saying kind of a small cut or anything, it could go sideways.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It could go sideways.
yeah. I wonder about your hands. Are you anxious about putting your hands in dirt as
Yeah,
well?
you can ground with your
Anything.
hands too. You see, yeah,
Yeah. I think that us connecting, like I think that however we can, the more connected we can be with things natural, the more in alignment we can be.
right.
And so breathing good fresh air, connecting with the dirt. Like I think we're trained so much to be disassociated from ourselves,
Or
from
lean against a tree. I
hmm
mean, even if you have everything on you and you just literally just lean against the tree with your hand, you know, just connecting to stuff. It's almost like static electricity, and they tell you to ground yourself. Pop, first to ground yourself, or like if you're working on a computer or whatever, you may not know this, but if you're working on a computer and you have it opened up, the first thing you have to do is ground yourself on something, and then you can start working on it to get rid of disperse the static electricity or whatever.
I don't know if I
But
said
it's
hi, Jazz and Justice, but hey, welcome. I sit
peace.
in the sun daily, hug a tree, says Brother Danubian. J. Bart said, sit in the sun daily. Just glowing said, laying on the ground. You can also make a grounding mat to sleep with, says I see.
Hmm.
Um, scrub the concrete with bleach. Now, I'm not a big fan of chemicals. Like, I kind of feel like bleach and kind of harsh chemicals, maybe some apple cider vinegar, maybe some baking soda and apple cider vinegar, but I wouldn't personally recommend the bleach. But
With
that's
borax, too.
yeah, I might. I mean, I'll work with borax, but I try to, limit my working with the harsh chemicals. But I was trying to say that I think that we can get so alienated. Like when me and my mother used to walk and eat mulberries off the tree, so many people would be like, "I can't believe you're eating off the tree. Can you eat that? Is that edible?" And I remember one time I had this salad, and that this person was like, "That just looked like a whole bunch of leaves." And I was like, "Yeah, it's salad. It is leaves." And then I remember I was telling somebody, yeah, I go and I get my eggs from a farm when I used to, this when I was in Mississippi. And they like, I get my eggs from Walmart. I wouldn't want my eggs from a chicken. And it's like somewhere in our head, we're disconnected from nature.
Right.
We're disconnected from truth. We're disconnected from ourselves. And so any step, anything that we can do to connect us to nature, to connect us to truth, to connect us to ourselves, every little thing is so important.
Only thing that only thing that would stop me from eating something out the grass or where is thinking about some raccoon pissing on
Mhm.
it.
I don't really know raccoons' pissing habits, so I don't know. Like I do
Neither do
know
I. I
that
just gotta think about
when I
raccoons.
when I first started like learning about foraging and stuff, a big major concern is not foraging. Like the reason I went deep in the field is to try to get away from the street.
Right.
But then it was kind of like those train tracks there. But when you're in the
Right.
city, it just be hard. But getting away from as far as you can from fumes. Plus they mow that, so I feel like it's probably suspect anyway. But I just bless it and eat it. I don't.
Hmm.
But that's the thing. And then if like a lot of dogs are in an area, but like I haven't like I just bless it because red clover is really good for women. So yeah. Do I want to tell him it was my birthday yesterday?
Yeah.
I'm going to plant a moringa tree in my backyard.
It was Angela's birthday yesterday.
I keep salt lamps near your bed, your media room, children's rooms, and my guest rooms. When it says love like the sun. My child won't eat the grapes in our backyard, but eats Walmart grapes, shaking my head.
I'll eat the grapes in the backyard. It was Angela's birthday yesterday.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Now she's legal.
I turned 18 yesterday. What year would that make me born? I was born in 2000. It's my new year. Happy New Year to me. The black folks in the schools in Detroit, they do the song in Swahili. I don't know it.
You look like you're 18.
Do I? Mm-hmm. They say Keith Wilder, yeah, in front of you. We love you so much. We love you so do. Yeah, we love you. We do. I don't know the song in Swahili, but they sing Happy Birthday, and I just be like, we love you so much. We love you, we do, because that's the only part I know. But I do know the Stevie Wonder version. You know that version?
What?
Happy birthday to you. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year.
Captain's birthday yesterday.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm finally 18.
Right. And yes, she's 18 and she's dealing with an older man. I'm like 3 years older than her.
Oh, are you 24? Cancer's in the building. My birthday is 2 weeks from today. Yes, it's Cancer season. It is Cancer season. Does anybody study astrology out there? Now, I feel like my study of astrology.
Oh, wait a minute. Is Cap saying it's his birthday?
Oh. Cap's is today, the 4th of July? I need a man.
Now you got to let me know. Cause
18 again. Yeah.
Is today your birthday, Cap?
Happy birthday.
Because I might have missed it on the scroll.
My birthday is Saturday, the new deep Cancer. She brought the worm back. I love the worm. The worm never left. I was doing that on live the other day. I guess it's just like in my spirit now. These inbred.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yay.
See,
we love you so much.
Cap 18
we love
too.
You, we do. Happy birthday. See, I wish I knew the Swahili version. Happy
Cap
birthday.
18 too. He's legal.
Mm-hmm.
See, right now you can drink legal, Cap.
You can't drink legal at 18 unless you're in Canada. You have to be 21.
Really? Okay, well, Cap, you got to put that bottle down.
Yeah.
For another, 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like my study of astrology and my study of metaphysics is one of the things, and we were talking about separation and some of the things that have helped us to separate is one of the things that's helped me to separate from the society. Happy 89th birthday to the Nation of Islam.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, that's a birthday worth celebrating.
All right. Black Fist is on his moderation.
Black First.
Oh, dang. No, it's Black Fist. Oh, Black First. Dang, now I'm so confused. But it's the one in there. It's Black First.
If it's Black First,
he told us already.
I know. Do one. And I was going to say do number one and do number two. But if it's Black, okay, I'm done with it.
It's Fist.
Fist. Okay, Black Fist. Okay, then now it's straight.
Did y'all used to do that? Like, if you was mad at somebody, you'd be like, yeah, after school.
Nobody ever did that.
Yeah.
Only on TV.
You just dated yourself, Ayapo. We could drink at 18 in the 80s in D.C.
All right.
I just pressed
the thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Oh, we got 14 watches, 14 thumbs up.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, you got it. This your channel.
No, that's it. It's us.
Okay.
together.
Um,
Black love.
okay.
What is called black love?
Yeah. So my study of astrology or metaphysics, tarot, astrology, like, I felt like just being able to honor what I felt called to and what was true to me was a step in the right direction instead of feeling like I had to do what everybody told, well, not what everybody, but what a lot of people was telling me, like, oh, the only way to go is Christianity, everything else is evil and wrong. And so that was kind of like one of those things where I felt like, thank you, where I felt like, hey, New Deep, where I felt like I started to get some freedom and started to get some autonomy, and like the confidence to do what's for me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I'm like as a vegetarian, I feel like I have the confidence to do what's for me. Like there's nothing that anybody can tell me that first
Oh, thank you,
left.
Nubi.
Yeah.
That's nice.
There's nothing that anybody can tell me,
Mm-hmm.
about that. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, tell me what you were telling me uh, about the African country as
Mm.
far as what you're starting to think about as far as the borders or the way
Oh,
they drawn created the countries there.
yeah. I'm not. It's not. I just feel like I don't really have clarity. So what I feel like I don't really have clarity about is I feel like I have the impression that people on the African continent definitely identify with their ethnicity. Like I'm Yoruba or I'm Kikuyu or I'm this, and have like a connection to that. But I kind of feel like these country lines and this naming of countries, I'm like, was that a European thing? Was that a colonial thing? Was that an imperialistic thing? And so I kind of feel like, because I have the impression that in a lot of these countries, it's unnatural to the people and the relationships that were existing. So like if we're like, here we are, we're together, but somebody comes and they draw a line and they're like, this is that family and this is that family, and then I'm with somebody else and you're with somebody else and not who you naturally are relating to. That's what I think. These countries, I'm wondering like where did the names of these countries come from, the lines of these countries. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that was like an organic natural thing, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying it's tribal society. I'm
Right.
just saying it's something that I'm curious about and I have a question about.
Right. I had never even considered that. Just it's just I'm about to tell on myself. It's just recently. When I say recently, I mean within the last couple years that I really came to the understanding that Africa is actually a bunch of different countries. Because when someone would say to me Africa, I'm thinking Africa as a continent, but I didn't realize that Africa was broken down into all these different countries within that. And I'm just being I'm just being honest. We're all in a learning process, and but that also just goes to show. I'm over here pushing 60. There, that's how I'm over here pushing 60, and just
And
found
I'm
out a few.
18.
Right, right. I robbed that cradle, Robbie. But I just,
My eyes itching.
you just messed me up.
I think it's important for us.
No, I'm just saying. It says something about the educational system, the system that we're brought up in, everything that we're shown and that we're taught. I'm like this old ass man and don't understand the country of my origin,
The
or
continent.
the continent of my origin or my country.
Right. We definitely don't understand the country, and it's probably country too. But what I think is important about what you said to me is that I feel like it's okay. Like, I feel like sometimes we're like, you're like, I'm telling on myself. I'm like, we should tell on ourselves. We should talk honestly about what's real. I don't think that we always need to like
Hmm.
posture and put ourselves. Like, when I was
Right.
part of this thing called the Goddess Collective, I remember one of the goddesses being like, well, I smoke, and so I can't call myself a goddess. And I'm like, we're all human goddesses. Like you can,
Right.
like,
And
so,
we're all at different parts of the journey too.
right.
So
And so I feel like it's good to like sometimes I'm not like a church person, but when people say I'm too blessed to be stressed, I feel like you can be blessed and stressed at the same time, and it's okay. I don't feel like it takes anything away from the truth of your relationship with God or the truth of your growth and the work that you've done, that you don't know everything, and that we're ignorant about a lot of things because
Right.
of the educational system and the propaganda and our
Miseducation.
alienation
Mhm.
from ourselves, from our people, from our family, from our communities, from it's a lot we don't know. I just know that, as Captain says, I just know that Africa are letting more oppressors move in, possibly conquer it.
Right.
Right. It seems like there's like a new Chinese or Asian, because I
Yes.
don't think it's just Chinese. I think it's Chinese, Japanese, and maybe Korean. I don't know.
Right. And everybody,
Hey, Redbird, what's up?
in peace,
Redbird 101.
and everybody wants to be there because that's where all the resources are,
Right.
and that's the last place the radiation is going to reach. And everybody's trying to make a beeline. You got freaking who was it, Prince Harry or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
talking about birth control on the continent. I'm like, dude, why are you over here?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you over here?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take your ass
Mm-hmm.
back to England
Mm-hmm. And talk about birth control
and
there or
talk about some
whatever.
birth
Right.
control there? The
Yeah.
hell out of here.
Yeah. Who is Harry? That's the one who's married to
Meghan Markle.
Oh.
No, Prince Harry. Whichever one
whatever.
of them. Yeah, whatever.
Whoever. Yeah.
You know, okay, get the hell
I
out.
don't know who
What
they
you
are.
do? What you doing over here?
Right. Yeah.
You know, always trying to go someplace
East
and
Indians too.
dictate what our people are supposed to be doing.
I was watching, says IC, I was watching Pine Gap. I'm not familiar with that yesterday. And the Asian man was mentioning how they quietly conquer territories.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them fry, so it's just glowing. Yeah. Power to the people. Power to the people. Aren't you going to say what you always say?
Wait.
Oh,
It needs some of this. But
the only time when it would have been appropriate.
Right. But everybody out there
on Netflix
is spread out in different places. Is it hot where you are?
Just let them fry in the sun.
Right. It's hot here. It is. It's hot. I just seeing that it's hot where they are.
It's been like 80 or 90 degrees here. This is my first summer here, so I just thought this was the this was the way it was. Didn't I ask you if this was the way it was? And you said yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Because one of the young women that I work with, she said that what did she say? She said that this is the hottest summer on record. Are you using the same app that I use, or
no?
you using?
I just went straight in.
Well, how come I couldn't go straight in?
Because I'm special.
That's not
Cool.
Yeah.
I know. I think maybe I need to go in and do something with yours, because yours should just go straight in like that.
Nevada, it's so hot in Nevada. We're in the state of Ohio.
Oh wow. Nevada, it has to be hot.
Yeah, Nevada is known for being hot. I thought, to me, it's in the 90s in maybe Austin. Yeah. Oh, it's 104 here, says Brother Danubian. Yeah, and Mr. Pirate Brain is in Austin. Yeah, one of the young women I work with, she said that she heard that it was the hottest summer in the world in human history. And we were like, well, how would they know? Maybe recorded history, but I didn't hear that. But I was just kind of like, oh, well, it's not usually this hot here. And she's like, no, it's not usually this hot here. It's been like 90s like every day. And I was like, oh, Ayako told me it was usually this hot here. So I thought it was just hot. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's everywhere I go. I'm basically under AC. We under AC in here. Mm-hmm. At work, I'm under AC. So it's like I'm not really used to being under air conditioning all the time. I'm used to like being more like connected with the natural world. Like, it's hot outside, so you feel hot inside, so I'm not even realizing how hot it is.
To get fans to older people, because you have a lot of older people who live in places where they don't have air conditioning. Mm-hmm. And they get, sweetheart, would you turn the television off? Or the television is just on.
Okay. Redbird says that
Thank you.
it's 75 here. Brother Danubian is in Phoenix, and Brother Danubian said it's 104 here, Arizona. It's hot over here in New York. The weather and in these streets and these damn fireworks and the fire trucks right behind
Hmm.
them. It's in Virginia. Redbird is. I mean,
But
Redbird.
that's the thing though. It wasn't the first time I went to Detroit. No, well, it might have been the first time I went to Detroit, where it was so hot that day, and then we went to Belle Isle,
Hmm.
and it was just nice and cool right off the water, and I just found that interesting.
Hmm.
So I don't know. And you talk when somebody's talking about being hot in New York, all I can think about is all that concrete and brick.
And that's what I was just
And
about to say about
mhm,
Belle Isle. It's not a lot of pavement there, not a lot of buildings.
yeah, grass and trees and water,
Hmm.
and it felt so
The one difference I feel is the intensity of the sun. It's almost as if I'm feeling the sun under a magnifying glass as I see. Love like the sun. Y'all in Ohio? I'm heading back to Ohio soon. Back to Ohio. Yeah. Hmm. You must be where it's raining. Nikki is saying to Redbird.
nice. Wow, 104.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah. So, this is the thing that we were talking about, this whole immigration thing, sort of, kind of. We don't talk about it
Uh,
that much, but I'm kind of like of the opinion that if it's bad for brown people, it's gonna be worse for black people. So I never. It's still blinking. Is it still on?
yeah, it's off. It's just doing this thing. I'll stop
Where
blinking
it's
in a minute.
watching us, it's blinking
Yeah,
to let us know it's
basically,
watching us.
it'll be off in a minute.
So I kind of feel like the 757 of Virginia, that's Texas has been under the 90s, where we used to be in the hundreds around this time. So it's
Mm,
cooler in Texas. Climate change, or maybe just, I don't know.
I think it's climate change.
I always, so I feel like first of all, I never feel like I feel like the issue is rich white men with property and power, or the system of white supremacy, or whatever, white fragility,
Oppression, yeah,
oppression.
whatever.
Like I feel like I'm never like mad at, or I try not to be mad at you because we're under pressure. So with this whole immigration thing, it kind of stresses me out because I figure if it's bad for brown people, then it's going to be bad for black people. And then, so anyway, I just was Googling, I just Googled because I was curious about, like, are there any black people who are involved with DACA, or are DACA dreamers? Like, because everybody that I see is Latino or appears to be a white Spanish speaking person, or whitish or brown, lighter on the lighter part of the color spectrum. And so I came upon this statistic, and I think the statistic was that 11% of the immigrants are black folks, and 17% of those deported are black folks. So I was thinking that the disparity would be much greater than that. But you thought that that was like really interesting. That's what you
Yeah,
wanted me to say.
yeah. You said
So
you said 11% were
hey, Avery Hodge, ushering in our replacement immigration. Notice how the politicians are talking DACA more than reparations. That's
that's it. I see. That's the discussion that
I
that
need to renew my
that we were
passport
having
again.
today about when we say that they're bringing in our replacements in separating from this system. You can close the door.
Yeah, I am. I'm
Get
getting
out of
freezing.
here. Get out of here. You look like a volcano.
If I could spit, I would.
but but when talking about separating from this system, when talking about leaving this system that we're in, and we're discussing like saying bringing in our replacements and putting them ahead of us and so on. Finally, I get to say it because we had the discussion last night, and I had an epiphany, and I actually wanted to write it down. Was that a lot of times when we're talking about immigration, we're talking about immigrants, and we're talking about, well, they keep putting us in line before us, putting in line ahead of us. Am I boring you? Putting them in line ahead of us. The problem is the problem with that thought process is that we're assuming that we're even in the line. We're talking about, well, they're putting Mexicans ahead of us. Who said we were in the effing line? That's the problem. Our people are so far outside this system that it's not about anybody being put ahead of us, or even the discussion not being about us or whatever. Because then the other assumption is that there's still some connect that we have to this system. We may have it, but they don't have it to us. So when I'm thinking about leaving the system, I use the analogy of when I used to work at this one place, and I knew that I knew I was quitting. Right, 2 week notice, whatever. You They were building like a new break room. They were totally renovating the place, and they were building a new break room. Everybody's excited because they're building a new break room, but it meant nothing to me because I was leaving. Oh, they're coming down with all these new rules for the employees. It means nothing to me. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. So what does it matter? It doesn't matter to me. It's not my. It has nothing to do with me. That's their stuff. That's your stuff. If you're staying here, but just the fact that we get as upset as we do about immigrants or whatever is showing that in some way we still are trying to be connected to this system or work with this system or work within this system or be part of this system. We're outside of it. And nobody's being put in line in front of us because we're not even in the line. We're not even part of the discussion. And then to take it a step further, it's not if someone comes and if, if you're standing in front of me and with your hand out, right, and then somebody else comes and walks up and puts their hand out, and I put a $10 bill in their hand, don't get mad at them. They did all they did was come and put their hand out. You know, why are you mad at them? It's not their fault that I put the money in their hand instead of yours. Be mad at me for doing it. So yeah, I used to be one of these that would get upset with investment do I have here? None. Zero.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood,
Generations of blood,
generations of blood, sweat, and tears. Understood.
Somebody
And
said, "Oh, just glowing said they only want us for votes, VOTES," and I didn't know if we were
right,
making a play like VOLTZ, like we're the battery. Somebody said earlier,
bolts.
votes, votes, yeah, and I was kind of like,
Right,
"Ooh, that's interesting."
right.
They want us for votes.
Right, so you're right.
That I like. I kind of, yeah. Why do we even pay taxes?
Right,
And
and well, that's the whole thing. They're constantly squeezing us, but we're getting nothing.
right. IC said it's a codependent system. They depend on us just as we depend on them. In order to separate, we need to be self sufficient. Now, I would actually argue something different. Like, I would argue that while we're working on self sufficiency, we need to separate. Like, I feel like I don't think that we can wait until we're self sufficient. Working on what are the ways that I can separate, what are the little things that I can do in my life, what are the big things that I can do in my life that separate me from this system so that my life is more and more a reflection of me and mine and us and our community.
Right.
And it's for me and for my people, for my family, and for my community. So,
Has anyone ever seen a trapeze artist swinging from one trapeze to the next, and then they like are holding one bar, and then they get to the next one, and then hold that one because they're scared to let go of this one. All they do is end up hanging there. You either grab this one and let go of that, or you grab this one and let go of that. But you can't hold both and move.
yeah. And I
You
think the
know.
way they work is you're holding on and you have to jump and let go
Yeah,
and then grab the
yeah,
next one.
you literally
I
have
don't
to
think
let
you can
go.
be holding both of them at the
Yeah.
same
Well,
time.
well, some of them have it so you can swing and you
Oh,
can at least get your hands on that one while you're letting go. But
oh,
some of them you literally have to let go and be in the air for a second before you get the other one. And that's what and that's like an analogy of what happens with us is at some point you have to just like be out there in the wind for a moment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the frightening part. What if I go to grab it and it's not there? What
Mm-hmm.
if I go to grab it and I miss? What if I
Mm-hmm.
grab it and I slip? You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's the fear that paralyzes us, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a legitimate concern.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like all in your head. It really is a legitimate concern. But what's the alternative?
I was just going to say that the system of white supremacy is global, and do we need a safety net? IC says the system of white supremacy is global. Jay Bart says safety net. Love Like the Sun says, listen, the system promises every nation that they can make it here in the U.S. simply by eating off the black nation with their Chinese restaurants, pizza shops, gas stations, etc.
And hair
Um,
shops.
hair
I'm always
shops.
pointing at my head when I say hair, and I
I
don't
have
have any.
right now.
I got a beard.
Yeah, that's called monkey branching when you hold on to one while you catch a new one. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
But ultimately, you still have to let go of one of them. At some point, you have to let go of one, you know, or else you're just hanging
In
there.
limbo. We're just, yeah, hanging there.
You know.
You're not going to go anywhere. Yeah.
And and the concerns that Black people have are legitimate concerns. I had the conversation with Sterling. I think I told you about it. And we were trying to understand like abusive relationships and why people stay in abusive relationships, whether it's man, woman, employee, employer, and so on. And the conclusion we came to is that people would rather deal with a mess that they understand than to step into the unknown. And it's legitimate. You know, it's not an illegitimate thing. But you know my husband's beating me. When he comes home, he's gonna beat me. When he comes home tomorrow, he's gonna beat me. That's my routine. I understand. Well, why don't you get out? Because I don't know what's gonna happen. See, and that doesn't that doesn't mean that it's all right that they stay, but it's a legitimate thing to say. If you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I understand this. I understand this. I'm used to this, and that's a lot, in my opinion, of the situation that Black people are in this country. We're like, yeah, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. It's jacked up. I can't drive down the street without cops following me. I can't walk down the street without cops stopping me. But I get it. I understand that that's what it is. But if I try to get out of it, then what's going to happen? Well, I've become of the opinion, you know, um, I know this is a mess. I don't know what could happen down the road or if I let go or whatever, but I know this is a mess for sure. So I'd rather get away from this mess that I know is a mess. And I could possibly be going to something worse, but I could possibly be going to something much better. So that's where my head is right now.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of personality and temperament. I guess some people are more comfortable, with the uncomfortable. And also, I think that, sometimes, like if you're talking about abusive relationships, and see, we as Black folks have generations and generations of this abusive relationship. And so, a lot of times when you're dealing, at least with women who are in abusive relationships, abuse. And so it's comfortable to them. It's what they know. It's all they know. It makes sense to them. And that's just like, that's what, that's it. They don't really, they wouldn't even know how to function. Like sometimes when you're around people who, are messy or whatever, they wouldn't know how to function well in a positive environment. They wouldn't understand the positive environment. That's not their frame of reference. That's not their comfort zone, you know. And some people, are able to, however they do it, kind of make the leap into something else and try something different. And some people, it takes them longer, or some of us never figure out um, how to do it, how to get out. So I don't know who earned what. I'm having issues with going off on white people. I've been working for myself. This is just flown for 15 years and snapped on a white chick a couple of weeks ago. LOL, never did that before. Oops. Um, yeah, she did earn it, said just glowing. She was like, "How dare you? Who do you think you are?" LOL. I had seen, I guess it was like a couple weeks ago, that guy who worked, I think he worked in a hotel, and I guess this woman on the phone had called him Negro, and
The
she was
N word.
like, right. She was like, but I need a place to stay, and I've had a hard day. And he's like, I just can't help you. I had a hard day too, having to hear you call me Nigger. And she's like, but it was a mistake. He's like, yeah, it was a mistake, and I can't help you. There's a hotel next door. I just thought he was like his
Right, he was polite about it.
yeah, he was polite about it, but he was very clear about it. And I was kind of surprised because it's like a lot of times, the white woman, and her, distress, we're trained to respond to that. Like,
Right.
okay, ma'am, I'll accept your apology. Okay, I know you're under stress. I know you didn't mean it. He said, it's above me. That's what he kept saying. It's above me. It's above me. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. But he was much funnier. I mean, he was, but anyway, yeah. They've had generations of abuse in relationships. We've had generations of abuse. Yeah, we've had generations
Hmm.
of, being abused. And, we feel like, I think in a lot of ways, like this is the greatest country on earth. And, this is the best place to be. And we have everything here. And I feel very conflicted about it because I feel like, yes, she did. She started crying. Why did they hold that for review? He was immune to white women's tears because somebody started crying. I
Right.
missed that whole thing.
Right. You know how I get when I see white women cry.
Yeah, you get
Yeah,
upset.
it makes me mad.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't. Shoot, it doesn't melt my heart. I start getting pissed off.
yeah. Have you always been like that?
Uh-uh.
Um,
After I woke up and then after I started really seeing was happening to our people and what has happened to our people, like every time I see a white person starting to cry, I get pissed. I'm
hmm
like, what? And then put it in the perspective of look at you wasn't crying for our people. Well,
hmm
our people been crying for centuries,
hmm
and you laughed at our pain.
hmm
And you just sit there crying. I'm supposed to fall apart. Get the f out of here.
hmm
What am I getting mad about?
That's how you feel.
That stuff is like ticking me off.
Yeah.
I'm pissed off because I'm paying attention.
If you aren't pissed
Pissed
off,
off
you
because I'm
aren't
paying
paying
attention.
attention. I'm not a fan of the pissed offness. I'm
I
like a
am.
positive person.
I'm positive pissed off.
Are you gonna be pissed off forever?
After we stop being oppressed, I'll stop being pissed
You'll
off.
change your name.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
I
good.
changed it
That's
to
progressive.
I changed it to why was I pissed off?
Yeah.
But yeah.
She started crying after that. She called me an F and B, sis. Just glowing. Love like the sun. When you pay no attention to the beast and give them no energy, they get very uncomfortable. They are accustomed to being coddled and considered by us.
Hmm.
They seem offended when they're ignored.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were we were taught to
Hey, Artie, be fresh.
we
Peace.
we were taught peace. We were taught to feel bad for them and to not feel bad for ourselves, for our own people. This is that's my whole thing about that's my whole thing about these swirlers out here who's like, well, there's no good black men out there, there's no good black women out there, so that's why I'm going to this white person or what. So I'm like, you can go to the people that have a proven history of oppressing your people and terrorizing them, and you're gonna forgive them all that and overlook all that. I got an idea. Why don't you take some of that forgiveness and understanding and focus it on your own people? That doesn't make sense to me.
hmm Well, it makes sense. I mean, in a way, it makes sense. I was talking to this young man. What was that guy who just got killed? He had a Nipsey Hussle.
Hustle. Uh-huh.
Nipsey Hussle. This young man, he was a musician, and he was saying, hey, this whole Nipsey Hussle thing. I mean, it makes me feel like, I just can't trust anyone, and I can't. So I see why people turn, to other people. And I was like, bruh, hold on a second, because you can't trust the other people.
Right.
The only chance that we have is trusting each other and trusting ourselves. And I'm not saying that all of us, and I think that it can, someone can be trustworthy today and not trustworthy. I mean, I think we're
Right.
under so much pressure, but I think that we're almost trained to get that message in certain situations to be like, like one of my sisters, was married to this white guy and it was a mess. But she's always forever dogging out black men. This is one of the only people I know she is forever. And I'm like, girl, you were married to a white man and that was not a good situation too.
Right.
Maybe if you're gonna dog, you should be like an equal opportunity dogger, or just like think about the quality of people that you're dealing with.
Right.
Sometimes as a child, you can't control who you're dealing with, but as we mature, we can control who we're dealing with. Um, just glowing, the white lady I rent my space from was there, and she took up for this total stranger, and she's known me for 12 years, but took up for her fellow white chick.
Right.
That's what they say there on code.
Right.
And but I
That
think
does
it's like
surprise
the
me.
same way that we're trained. I think they're trained to see like, us as angry. I've been watching TV shows on Facebook, and I call it like the beige supremacy, because it's like I hardly ever see dark skinned black women. Like I started off watching Red Table Talk, and it's like it's hard to see a dark skinned black woman on that show. I mean, and it's like all of the black folks she has for the most part are like all the same. They're like very similar in skin tone. Sometimes she'll have a dark skinned man on there. She had this one dark skinned woman who was like an exercise guru, but then on that same show, she had this white woman who's an exercise guru. So I guess it was like to balance out the blackness to keep it beige. But
Right.
I started off saying that to say something. Oh, but there was this one show that I watched where it was like they had this one black woman on this like dating show, and they kept having her like they put these like dagger emojis coming from her, but they didn't put dagger emojis coming from anybody else. And it was like a dating show where all of these women were competing for this one man. And it was sort of like, well, why are they making it like the black woman is like more angry and more aggressive than everybody else? Because that's what they do. We're trained to think of, the black woman as like more aggressive, more hostile, more
Mm-hmm.
angry, more upset. And so, that I mean, and they're definitely trained, to see it like that. The paper bag test show. I mean, it's like I'm like, I mean,
Well,
is it just Hollywood? Is
that
it
was
like I'm like, where did all these like?
that's like during the Super Bowl, or before the Super Bowl started, and they made it their business. So this is CBS. They they made it their business to show these dark skinned black men who had become cheerleaders for I forget what
Mhm.
team. And I'm like, okay, now at the same time they're showing these emasculated ass black men, they show this black woman who was playing football, like playing college ball, and surrounded by these black. I'm like, I see what you're doing. See, and that's the thing is, when you wake up, you just peep this stuff like immediately. You're not even peeping it anymore. It's
Mhm.
just so blatant, and that take me. I get pissed off a lot.
Mhm. And so I think it's kind of like sometimes you think, like, oh, I've known this person for 12 years, they know me. I was listening to this woman on this podcast, and she was saying how at work, like she kept getting these evaluations that she was like angry, unprepared. Like, it was like they just kept like it was like it's just like you think you're having a relationship and people are seeing you as a real person, but they're just seeing you as like a stereotype. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have any white friends, so I might be skewed. Like maybe you can, have deep, sincere, authentic, relationships with white folks as a black person. I don't know because that hasn't been my experience. But I just kind of feel like, even us relating to ourselves, to each other and to ourselves, I feel like it's hard enough to get beyond, the stereotypes and
Mm-hmm.
the hostility and the stuff. I wasn't surprised by her being on hold. I was just more sure of how I would proceed with her in the future. Yep, it was just confirmation. Says just glowing, like it's like a monkey in a suit that can speak. Captain says they practice projections to make us resemble their negative side.
Right. Yeah, Cap, you're absolutely right. I'm very well known for saying, and I always say it. Any if you want to know how white people perceive us, or if you want to know how white people perceive themselves, then look at us and any negative thing that they say that pertains to us. And so far, I haven't found one exception to this. Any negative thing that they say that pertains to us actually really just pertains to them. Any anything, anything, 100% of the time, never any exception. And it's interesting it's interesting to look at and to hear, but it I mean it's just classic projection all day long, all day long. And I think one of the problems is that I believe, and this may actually cause some controversy, but I believe that on an individual basis, you can deal with white people as individuals. My best friend is an example. Is one of his best friends is this white guy, but the problem is that you're not talking about one white person. You're talking about an entire system that I'm sorry. You're talking about an entire system that upholds them. You're talking about an entire system that's designed to benefit them and to hold us down. So so when you start talking in terms of individual white people, you're like, well, what are they doing to go against the system? And ultimately, if the rubber met the road, right, and they were forced to have to take sides, there was something that happened, and they were forced to have to take sides. What do you think they would do? They would side with their own. That's just how it is, you know. So I don't know. I
I
think
would side. I'm always on the side of black
right,
people.
and
Black first.
right, and I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, to be honest, because I would side with my people.
Right.
But there's many of us who are so brainwashed that we would side with them. But you're not going to see them side with us. But there are many of us who are so brainwashed and so in this system who would side with us. As a matter of fact, we watch them do it every day. We call them
right.
coons.
Right. Well, we were watching. You were. Well, I came in. You were watching this TV show, and you were telling me that the little black boy, one of the little black boys, got killed because he was He was
The
caping
farmer.
for a
Uh-huh.
little black or a little white boy. A black boy was caping for a white boy, and the black boy got killed.
Right.
Caping for him.
And that's how we're trained.
That's how we're
And,
trained.
and trained to hate ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, one of the most plain ways to see that is the way that we relate to each other, especially when it comes to relationships. A black woman or some black women do something to me. Well, I'm gonna start dating white women. Black women ain't yes. But then I'm gonna go and deal with someone who historically has oppressed me, oppressed my people, thrown my babies to alligators,
Alligators.
and so on and so forth. I'm going to go to them. I'm going to forgive them every sin that they committed, but I won't turn that same thing around and forgive my people of
Mm-hmm.
something that they may have done to me. I mean, it's a mess,
Mm-hmm.
a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know. I'm not looking at you.
Like you love so funny about that.
Most black people coddle the feelings of whites. We're trained to coddle the feelings of whites.
Mhm.
I have been guilty of it. I rarely speak the full truth to them. Working on that myself, says just glowing. Yeah, we're trained. I mean, it's like overcoming our indoctrination is it's a process because I feel like this system of black hate nation, this black hate nation, it's like we're part of it too. Like I feel like black people are white supremacists too. And if you're not, it's like you're an exception to the rule. and you may not be like it in all ways, but like, colorism is an expression of white. Like there are all kinds of
Self-hate.
things that we do
Mhm.
that's like an expression of like, hatred of white people. I mean, of black people. Like this society, we're just trained to like hate black people and love white people. I mean, that's our training day in, day out. The movies teach us to do it. The TV shows teach us to do it. The news teaches us to do it. School teaches us to do it. The music teaches us to do it.
And what and one of the things that we're also taught is to play into their game of playing dumb. Because I used to white splain. I don't white splain anymore under any circumstances because when they're like, well, what can I do? What can they? You know what's happening. You know what's going on. You know. You know what the system is. You know that you're benefiting from the system. If you act like you don't, then you're just acting because you know.
And even if you don't know, I feel like don't ask me to do the labor for you. Don't ask me to figure out how you can make this skit that you created right.
Right.
You go and do that.
If anything,
like, well, I got plenty of stuff to do working on me and mine. I can't be trying to breastfeed Joe behind.
Yeah, if anything, I'll print a bunch of cards with Jane Elliott's phone number on and hand it to them. Call her.
Yeah.
She'll explain it to you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do that. I ain't got no energy for y'all. Shoot, we need each other. It's amazing how, okay. That's why I stopped listening to D.L. Hughley and Wolfie.
I'll be back.
Um, these two are clowns, D.L. Hughley and
Y'all like
Wolfie.
D.L. Hughley.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't be feeling like I don't like people. I feel like some of the stuff they do, I'd be like, that's not really for me. But I don't like, I guess I just feel like I don't know how any black person in the society is sane or whole and true through and through. Because I feel like we're just compromised in so many ways and constantly pulled upon to denigrate ourselves and pull ourselves. Like, I just feel like I don't know how any black person has any semblance of sanity in this society. Like I don't like I feel for us. I feel like it's hard out here for black folks. So I don't know. Like, I don't, and it's hard for me also to know what choices I would make if I were in certain positions because it's hard because I'm just in my skin. That's why Michi X doesn't allow allies in her conference unless they are black. I don't even know who Michi X is. I would love a totally black clientele, says Just Glowing. Now, Miss Just Glowing, were you saying that you were a massage therapist earlier? I think I remember seeing that, but I couldn't quite catch everything. And I feel like put that on your vision board.
So I say one for you.
Yes, you are. Okay, yeah, put that on your vision board. I feel like I don't like you. That's like you can create that. That's that's doable to have an all black clientele. You have an all black clientele, you're attracting them and drawing them to you. They're there now. They're just waiting for you to connect to them because they want the service that you have to provide and they're happy and willing to pay you well for your service. Yes, I was in Michi's live stream. Oh, Michi X. Okay, I met Michi X. Um, I don't hardly know any of the YouTube people. I'm tired now.
I got a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Have you or has anybody out there? Because like right now I'm eating a banana, right? Has anybody out there ever been self-conscious, like out in public, of eating a banana or eating watermelon or eating fried chicken? Has anybody out there of us never been self-conscious about it? And the only reason I asked that is before I started eating this banana, I thought about it. I was like, there are so many ways in which we're manipulated.
This is a mukbang. Mukbang.
Well, I'm just saying, there's, there's so many ways that we're just like subtly manipulated. What if I like freaking watermelon?
Oh, you mean banana because of monkey?
Right.
See, because I feel sometimes self-conscious eating a banana as a woman because I feel like people are going to be like, it's a phallic symbol. Right. So I'm kind of like, I'm just eating a banana.
Right. But I'm just saying, You know, I like a banana every now and then.
Just glowing. She said she feels shy eating bananas in front of women.
Right.
I love watermelon. Doesn't bother me.
Right.
I don't eat fried chicken. That's me.
Yeah. Well, I don't eat fried chicken anymore. But it's not because of feeling self conscious about it. It's just because it's meat. But I'm just saying, there's so many subtle ways that we're manipulated in this country. A white person will go eat a piece of watermelon, not think anything of it, or a second thing, or a piece of fried chicken, or whatever. But we always got to be about, it's just like when we went and ate today, and every question is, are they treating us a certain way because of whatever? Why are you laughing at me?
God, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at that situation.
Right. I mean, it's as a black person,
I'm laughing to keep from crying.
Right. I like banana pudding too, by the way. But anyway, there's always this question in your mind as a black person. Like if someone, it's so subtle. If someone's serving you at a restaurant or whatever, and they go and they spend a little more time with the white person than they do with you, it's like, are they doing this because I'm black? Maybe they're not, but as a black person, you always have this question in the back of your mind, and that's that's one of the points of white privilege. And of course, black people don't see it, but that's one of the points of white privilege that you never even have to think about this stuff. If somebody's talking to somebody else for longer than they're talking to you, as a white person, you're not thinking, well, is it because I'm white? They're just thinking they're getting bad service. But black people, we're like, are we getting bad service or is it because we're black? You know, and it's just a messed up situation. What about you?
I'm intermittent fasting,
Oh, that's
and so
right.
I started at 7 o'clock today. I haven't eaten since
What time
7.
is it?
I can't tell on your thing, but I know I'm kind of getting tired. Somebody hid my comment. Somebody hid your comment. We can't just be. Somebody hid Mr. Pirate Brain's comment. You a moderator? Did you hide it?
Right.
We can't just be as black folks. Everything is scrutinized in our minds as once, and only the white folk would eat it. It was strange.
Right.
It's 11:40 here. Oh, it's way past my bedtime. I got to be at work at 9. I was supposed to be in bed at 7. Oh, I mean at 11, not at 7.
Today, I'm gonna tell you when we got back from the restaurant, and it was early because we went for lunch and came back, and I went to sleep. What time was it?
It was about 4
You went
something.
to sleep. It's like four something. So it's like a little after. Did we stop any place? But anyway, I went to sleep around four something. I woke up and Angela
Yeah,
was
what time
Angela
was it?
was
I don't
out
know.
here. It had to be like two something. But anyway, I woke up and I saw the clock is like 7:45, and I got up and I'm like, well, I need to make a smoothie. What's going on?
But
And
you talked to me before you said that. We had a whole conversation. Then you
right,
went away. Then you came back and said
right.
that.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, why is she not getting trying to get up and get dressed? I was thinking it was 7:45 in the morning. And I mean, I thought that for a long time. I mean, it was a long time. I was like, why is she not getting dressed? I woke up and thought it was morning. And I was like, brother, I still feel tired.
Right. You said that. You like. I said, how do you feel? You said, I'm really tired. And I was thinking, well, you get to sleep all night too, so that's good. You didn't,
Right. You was like, sleep all night. I'm like, yeah, well, am I going to make it tonight? And didn't even know it was still the same day. Well, we ran out to Whole Foods and got some water
and bananas.
and bananas.
That's it. Oh, I got some ginger beer.
Mm-hmm.
When we used to go,
Right, that's what I'm making. Fruit flies.
when we first started going to Whole Foods, they would always ask for the Amazon Prime number. and Ayako is an Amazon Prime member. And not when we first started going, but whatever, when Amazon took over. And now it seems like the last few times we've gone, they don't ask if they don't ask for the number. Now he remembers to tell them. And I need to like try to remember to tell them that we have bag. Like I tell them, we got a bag here, but they don't give me the bag credit. So I feel like I have to tell them, you need to give me the bag credit. But I don't know why. This was great, you guys. Um, I don't know why they don't ask. I don't know why they don't ask about the Amazon Prime number anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
The last few times, it's like nobody asked. But anyway, I'm gonna go to sleep.
When I started running that big dog come running in there, thought it was a little dog treat.
Yeah,
Bella. Steady.
All right. Well, we just talked about nothing.
I know. I enjoyed this, like sitting talking with people in the living room. We're in our living room.
It's kind of like having company, huh?
Right.
Sort of, kind of.
That's the best way to spend time with talking with our people. Mm-hmm. So we're about to go and get some sleep and really get up at 7:45 tomorrow.
No, I get up right.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for coming in.
Thank you everybody for coming in. Jay Bart, IC, Just Glowing, Captain PYT, Avery Hodge, Mr. Pirate Brain, Just Glowing. Now I'm probably being redundant. Redbird 101, and everybody else. Can you go and see who's in your chat?
I think so.
You have a system.
This is supposed to actually show everybody the participants right there. Okay. Last time it didn't.
Oh,
and see, it's not so this sad. Time. I know.
If we didn't mention you, you were still here in spirit, because your spirit and your heart and your soul counts, and it has value, and it's been acknowledged, soul to soul, vibration to vibration.
and please, if you haven't already, subscribe to Angela's channel. That's Be Fabulous You. They'll try to work toward that 1,000 subscribers. My subscribers are actually going down, but I think that's YouTube. I already told you the difficulties I'm having with my videos, where I think that they're being suppressed. I really do, and I'm not one of these. They're suppressing my channel. I think something weird is happening with that. So when you can, just shout me out and have people come over and like, share, and subscribe my videos. And
IC says her participant list isn't working on her computer either. This was wonderful, Just Glowing.
Okay.
Yay. I feel like it was so anticlimactic. We were just meandering all over the place.
Yeah. But that's how you do sometimes when you're just talking.
Just chilling, just kicking it.
Okay.
Okay. Peace.
Black love.
Black love.
Last one out the door. Get the light.
Angela. Oh, thank you for putting the link in there. I see. That's very sweet.
Thank you.
Put Angela's link in here. All right. So I think even after we click off, there'll be a couple minutes. So y'all love somebody, love yourself, be compassionate to yourself and your friends and your family today and tomorrow.
Black love forever.
I'm subscribed. Okay. Peace. Oh, I want you to touch the screen, but it's not a touch screen.
Right. You gonna sing your song?
No, because this isn't my channel.
That's right. You can still sing.
Good night, Bella.
Ain't nobody thinking about that dog.
Good night, Bella. It's time to go to bed. It's time to go to bed. It's time to go to bed. Good night, Bella. It's time to go to bed.
And that's why dog will never go to bed. Peace.